Hello, I'm Matt Reynolds, editor of Packaging World magazine, back with another edition of Take 5. Today I'd like to highlight a certain subsection of the much wider sustainability trend, and that's the practice of some brands replacing some of their traditional fossil fuel-based or petroleum-based plastics with bio-based plastics. And the advantage there is bio-based plastics are renewable. If it's based on corn, you can always plant another crop of corn, but there's a finite amount of petroleum left that and once it's gone, it's gone. So a lot of brands have been not necessarily replacing a one-to-one the entire pack with bio-based plastics, but at least some portion of it, or possibly one layer or one section of a multi-layer structure. One such brand was Cucina Fresca. This is a Seattle-based specialty pasta and pasta sauce brand that had been using traditional thermoformed MAP, or modified atmosphere packaging, with a film lidding. Now, the company, being on the West Coast, had been known for doing some activities around sustainability, both internally in their own company and also in their community. So it didn't make a whole lot of sense to some of their consumers that they were using single-use plastics. The eyebrows were raised in that sense. At the same time, Cucina Fresca knew in order to get their product freshly to their consumers and without breakage of the pack or anything like that, or spoilage, they still needed to use modified atmosphere packaging. So they went on a little bit of a journey, a packaging journey, where their original pack, their original modified atmosphere pack, was made of PVC, which is polyvinyl chloride, with an EVOH barrier. And again, the film lidding with most likely a pressure-sensitive label. Their first step away from that was the move away from PVC to PET, but they still had the EVOH layer. But then they spoke to the folks at Sealed Air, who had to convince them on, and eventually they became convinced, but there was a little bit of a pitch at the beginning, plant-based roll stock material, or PBR for short. The use of this Sealed Air and Cryovac branded Sealed Air plant-based roll stock basically replaced all the EVOH in that structure, and it also replaced some of the PET. In fact, I think the total amount in the thermoformed web structure was 28% of the PET and EVOH was replaced, but when you add in the film lidding, which the company maintained their existing film lidding, their legacy film lidding, that number came down to around 24%. But what's really interesting to me is that this new PBR material from Sealed Air, from Cryovac, is a one-to-one replacement in the PET, or the RIC1 PET recycling stream. So that product acts like PET in the recycling stream, so consumers can just, when they're finished, go ahead and recycle it like traditional PET. One more example of replacing bio-based plastics for existing fossil-based or petroleum-based plastics. And again, you're not always going to find huge percentages, but every little bit counts, particularly for brands that are working towards 2025 or 2030 sustainability goals. So any place that they can chip away, they're finding success in replacing some of these fossil-based plastics with the bio-based. Another one that I thought was particularly interesting comes from a potato producer, Weston. The brand is Alexia, frozen French fries. They have a whole host of different products, but this particularly is for both sweet potato and regular French fries. And what's interesting to me is that they replaced what was the sealant layer, an LDP sealant layer around an OPP, or oriented polypropylene bag. They replaced that sealant layer with a potato starch-based a material that was able to achieve the same properties as LDPE. And bear in mind that this company is using, vertical form fill seal on a frozen product, I believe. I could be wrong on that, but I believe it's a frozen product that's going through these baggers and automated baggers and so on. And then they've got a long journey to, logistics-wise, to wherever they end up on a store shelf in a freezer. So there's a lot that these bio-based plastics can do in replacing one-to-one with virgin, in this case LDPE, as a sealant layer. So two really interesting areas where we saw virgin, petroleum-based plastics replaced with plant-based or bio-based replacements. And in this case, I believe it was 16% of the actual overall bag was replaced. But when you amortize that over thousands and hundreds of thousands of bags over a period of time, it really does make a dent. That's all the time I have today. Again, Matt Reynolds signing off. Hope you enjoyed today's Take 5.